Hello, and welcome back to Divination class. I see that the class is somewhat smaller this time. Looks like about half of you chose not to return. Well, as I said in your first class, not everyone will possess the sight, sadly, and for those who do not, no amount of book learning will replace having it, so it's good that those who don't have the sight leave the class, because that allows the rest of us who do to communicate with each other in ways that people without the sight just simply wouldn't understand. So now that the people who are not as gifted as all of us have left the class, we can get down to some more serious business. So today, I have a really wonderful treat in store for you all. Today, we're going to be reading tea leaves. Now, this is an ancient practice, and it's also a very pleasant form of divination because not only are you reading someone's horoscope within the tea leaves, you also get to enjoy drinking the cup of tea. So, before you all is a cup of my very favorite tea, lemon raspberry. And if you don't like that particular flavor, well, that's just tough. So please drink down your cup until there's just a little bit of liquid left in the bottom of your cup. Just suck that right down and enjoy. Or don't if it's not your favorite flavor. And once you've got it down to where there's just a tiny little bit of liquid in the very bottom of the cup, you just want to swirl that around a little bit. You notice that the tea leaves in the bottom are swirling with the liquid, so swirl it around. Allow the leaves to fall into place where they will, and then give the cup to the person across from you. And when you drop your cup and it shatters in a million pieces, please use the blue ones the next time because the pink ones are rather dear to my heart. And there it goes, yes. So please grab the blue one instead of the pink one to replace that, and pour yourself another cup of tea and drink it down. And what could really bake your noodle is, would you have dropped the cup if I hadn't said anything? Oh, forgive me. Once again, I've wandered off into the realms and I'm channeling another seer. We're all on the same wavelength, so that's very easy to do at times, but fortunately, I have returned to this room. So, yes, I see that you have your blue cup. Please refill it with tea, drink it down, swirl around your leaves, and then pass it to the person across from you and take their cup from them. Yes, very good. Now, when you gaze into the cup, I want you to relax all your senses. I have once again provided a very relaxing atmosphere with the incense that I have chosen. Hopefully this will put you in the more open mindset so that your, shall we say, antenna, your figurative antenna, can pick up the messages that you should be receiving about the future in this cup. Yes, so you're going to look in, see what symbols you see, and look them up in the book before you. While the book can tell you what all the symbols mean, your gift is what allows you to see them, where many people may simply look in and see a pile of mushy green leaves. The true seer will see many shapes and symbols within their cup. You'll be able to just look in and see all manner of symbols and shapes, which of course have many different meanings depending on what the shape and symbol is. Look into your book and find what the meanings are. So, gaze very carefully into the cup and then pick the first symbol that you see and look that up. And, okay, so what do you see in the cup of the person across from you? Danger. Okay, yes, very good. Now look in again and pick another symbol. What do you see? Death. Okay, yes, I do believe that you have the gift. Gaze in further. What else do you see? Betrayal. Okay. What else? Terrible accidents. Yes, well done. Yes, you seem to be interpreting very well what you're seeing in the cup. You're making sense of all the symbols before you and putting meaning with them. Now, one of the best ways to clarify the initial reading that you've done is to hand your cup back to the person across from you and pour just a little bit more tea in. Let them drink the tea, and then re-swirl the leaves once again, and then look in again and see what other symbols come up which might shed light on some of the things that you've seen before. For example, the first symbol that you saw implied suffering. Perhaps the person across from you is interested to know exactly what might cause that suffering. So pour a little bit more tea in, exchange cups back with the person who was originally drinking out of it. Everyone drink their tea once again. Yes, just suck that stuff right down. It's quite tasty to me, but you may not like it, and again, that's just too bad if you don't. So once you've got it down to just a tiny little bit liquid in the bottom, once again, swirl your leaves around, and then begin again. Why don't you start with the first symbol, which implied suffering? See if you can look in and see what might be causing that suffering. Do you see any shapes starting to take form? Yes, and what do they look like to you? And what does that symbolize? Education. Okay, so if you were to put the two symbols together, what would that tell you? There's going to be suffering and education. What might that perhaps mean? That someone is going to suffer while they are in school. Perhaps their exams are going to cause them a great deal of suffering, something along those lines. Yes, very good. You're doing very well at putting the two symbols together. And again, you're doing very well at accepting the fact that your friend is going to have a terrible life. You're having the courage to tell them how terrible their life is going to be. You're doing exceedingly well. Now, I believe that you mentioned death as the second thing. Why don't you look into the cup and see if you can divine a little extended meaning on that? What might this death be? Is it your friend's death? Is it a relative of your friend's death? Perhaps a pet? What do you see in the cup? What does it look like to you? Okay, so what might that imply? An animal. Okay, so it could be that perhaps your friend's pet is going to meet an untimely death, as prophesied by the tea leaves. Very good, well done, an excellent reading. I'm sorry, what's that? A shape that you don't quite understand? Okay, well, let me take the cup and see what I can see here. Oh dear. I'm terribly sorry to have to inform you, my child, but you have the Grim. The Grim is one of the darkest omens of our world, and it's now sitting in the bottom of your cup. I prophesy a very, very dark time ahead for you, which will, of course, ultimately end in death, as do all of my predictions. Well, I hope that you've all enjoyed your class. Off you go now and run to your other classes, and thank you for coming. I hope you found this enjoyable and instructive, and I will see you again at your next divination class. Goodbye for now. So here's a little preview of the costume that took me longer to make than any other costume in my upcoming cosplay book, but it was well worth the time because it looked pretty cool when it was done. So can you guess who it is by the jacket and the sword?